What would you do if the very person trusted to teach respect became the one wielding cruelty? In the crowded hallway of an American high school, a black woman who spent years quietly guarding its doors was dragged into the spotlight, her braids clutched in the fist of a teacher holding buzzing clippers. Invisible yesterday, humiliated today, yet her silence carried more strength than his rage. But when the truth of who she really was emerged, the power in that hallway shifted forever. The sound of clippers snapped the scene into focus, and the story begins. The buzzing sound of electric clippers echoed through the hallway, sharp and merciless. Mr. Miller's hand gripped a fistful of Ruth Carter's braided hair as if she were nothing more than a rag. "This isn't a salon, and we don't need animals parading around my school," he sneered, his words slicing deeper than the blades themselves. Students froze, their laughter dying in their throats. Ruth, the black woman who guarded the doors of the school every morning with quiet dignity, felt her breath collapse into her chest. She didn't fight back, yet. She stood, and the hallway froze, every eye watching the spectacle of humiliation about to unfold. Ruth had spent years sweeping the corridors of Jefferson High, the kind of job no one noticed until the floors shone or the trash bins overflowed. She moved quietly, her uniform faded but clean, her presence often ignored by those who passed her. To the students, she was invisible. To teachers like Mr. Miller, she was beneath contempt. That morning, Ruth had been polishing the trophy case when Miller's voice rang out. "You think you belong here with that mess on your head? You're just a distraction." He motioned to her braids, adorned with simple beads, a reflection of heritage and pride. Ruth looked up, her eyes steady though her hands tightened around the rag she held. "It's just my hair, sir," she said softly. "It doesn't hurt anyone." But Miller's lips curled into a cruel smile. "You people always think rules don't apply. Maybe I'll teach you what discipline looks like." The students whispered, some shifting uncomfortably, others smirking, feeding on the imbalance of power. Ruth's heart pounded, but she remained rooted, refusing to shrink. She had faced worse storms before. By midday, Miller's simmering disdain erupted. A crowd had gathered in the hallway during class change. Miller strode toward Ruth, clippers buzzing in his hand. "Today, that disgraceful hair goes," he declared, his voice booming like a judge delivering a sentence. Gasps rippled through the students. Ruth's knees weakened, yet she stood firm. "You have no right," she said, her voice trembling but unbroken. Miller yanked her head back, the metallic teeth of the clippers grazing her scalp. "No right?" he barked. "I have every right in my school." Her hands rose instinctively, not to strike, but to shield. A hush fell, the silence itself louder than any scream. The moment stretched unbearably, Ruth's dignity poised on the edge of a blade. Then the crowd parted. A tall man in a tailored suit stepped forward, his face drawn with disbelief that hardened into fury. Principal Harris, the newly appointed head of Jefferson High, had arrived unannounced. He took in the scene, Miller clutching Ruth's hair, the buzzing clippers, the circle of stunned students. For a heartbeat, no one moved. "Let her go," Harris commanded, his voice low but thunderous. Miller hesitated, the arrogance draining from his face as recognition flickered. Ruth lowered her hands slowly, her posture unbending, her eyes locked forward. Harris stepped closer, his presence shifting the air. "You dare assault a staff member, here, in front of these children? You call this teaching?" Miller's lips opened, then closed. No defense came. The hallway seemed to exhale as power shifted before their eyes. Principal Harris stood between Ruth and Miller, his voice steady now. "This woman has more honor in her silence than you have in your entire career. She is not just a janitor. She is the heart of this school, a protector who has served longer than you've taught. And she will be treated with the respect she deserves." He turned to the students, making sure they heard every word. "What you witnessed was not discipline. It was hate." Miller dropped the clippers, their clatter echoing like a verdict. Harris's next words cut through the silence, "You're finished here." Security escorted Miller out, his career collapsing in the same hallway where he thought he ruled. Ruth stood tall, her braids untouched, her presence unshaken. The students looked at her differently now, not as invisible, but as a woman whose dignity had survived the storm. Justice had arrived, not with violence, but with truth. Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that fight for dignity and justice.